Hi, Black Cat recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi film named 15 Million Merits. In the distant future, less wealthy individuals reside in places where they have to use stationary bikes to earn merits. They use these merits to pay for most of their daily needs. Both food and the small amount of toothpaste they use each morning require merits as payment. In their small rooms, poor individuals have screen-covered walls where they can watch shows and play games, which they need to pay for using merits. However, these screens also display adult advertisements, even while they are in the bathroom. Skipping these ads also requires merits. Every user has a virtual representation called an avatar in the system, and acquiring clothes and other decorations for it also requires payment with merits. They have no vacations or breaks outside. The facility is their entire life, unless they spend a substantial number of merits on a golden ticket to participate in the talent show Hot Shot, which might offer them a chance for a better life. Among the bike riders is Bing Madsen, who has accumulated more than 15 million merits. He isn't extravagant, as he prefers to keep his avatar simple, but he does skip all the ads whenever they appear and spends his evenings playing video games. Bing has little interest in the talent show or silly comedies, so he prefers listening to music or admiring landscapes while biking. He remains relaxed and composed throughout. However, his neighbor on the bike, Dustin, behaves quite differently. Dustin is impolite and irritating, laughing loudly at his mindless comedy shows and watching adult movies in the biking room without consideration for others. He treats the cleaners disrespectfully and mocks those who experience health issues due to excessive biking. Bing finds Dustin's behavior intolerable, but he chooses not to confront him. Another colleague, Swift, is a young woman who plays the violin while biking, and she has feelings for Bing. One day during lunch, Swift shows Bing how to retrieve apples from the machine when they get stuck and attempts to engage in small talk after making a joke. However, Bing only thanks her before heading to his table, not reciprocating much conversation. Later that day, while Bing is attempting to play video games, another ad unexpectedly pops up on the screen. Annoyed by this, he decides to close his eyes to seek a moment of peace without screens. However, this action triggers the system to turn all the screens red and blast a warning, urging him to resume viewing. Defeated by the system, Bing opens his eyes and decides to spend some of his extra merits on watching an adult movie for the night. The following morning, he encounters a new coworker named Abi Khan in the elevator, a beautiful girl. He also notices that one of the bikers is missing from their station, having chosen to become a cleaner due to the unbearable conditions. Unfortunately, Dustin mocks and ridicules this individual for their decision. While in the bathroom, Bing is pleasantly surprised to hear a beautiful singing voice coming from one of the stalls, and he realizes it's Abi. He finds himself developing a crush on her and wants to strike up a conversation. However, he feels unsure and doesn't know what to say to her. As Bing awkwardly tries to talk to Abi, their conversation is interrupted once again by yet another ad appearing on the screen in front of them. Frustrated, they both have no choice but to return to their work. Abi takes over the bike that was vacated by the person who became a cleaner. As Bing continues to bike, he can't help but steal glances at Abi, which catches her attention. Meanwhile, Swift becomes jealous as she notices Bing's attention shifting towards Abi. During lunch, Abi ingeniously creates an origami penguin out of the paper bag that contained the apple. However, when she tries to use it as decoration on her bike, the cleaner removes it, explaining that such decorations aren't allowed. At that moment, Bing observes Abi looking back at him. Later that night, as he goes to bed, he can't get Abi out of his mind. He finds himself continuously humming the tune he heard her sing in the bathroom, captivated by her presence. When Bing sees the ads for Hot Shot on the screens, a plan starts to form in his mind. The following day, he notices that Abi's apple is stuck in the machine, and he seizes the opportunity to help her retrieve it. This time, Bing takes the chance to initiate a proper conversation with her while showing her how to get the apple out of the machine. Abi has just turned 21, the age at which people enter the biking system. She originally wanted to join the same facility as her sister, but it was already full, so she ended up here. During their conversation, Bing playfully uses the same joke about healthy food that Swift had used on him earlier. He goes on to explain how unhealthy food might be cheaper, but it creates a cycle where you have to burn off the extra calories later, leading to increased cravings for sugary items, which can be challenging to break free from. Indeed, Bing compliments Abby's singing voice and expresses his admiration for its beauty. However, Abby humbly downplays her talent, explaining that it's a song that has been cherished within her family for generations. Despite her modesty, Bing is still captivated by her voice and remains impressed by her musical abilities. With great conviction in Abby's talent, Bing insists that she should consider auditioning for Hot Shot, recognizing her potential to achieve something significant with her singing abilities. Bing goes on to assure her that if she doesn't have the required 12 million merits for the audition, he is more than willing to gift them to her, eager to support her dreams and aspirations. He genuinely wants to see her succeed and believes that her talent deserves recognition on a larger stage. Bing received the money from his late brother's inheritance when he passed away last year. However, he rarely uses it for personal indulgences like frivolous apps or avatar clothes. To Bing, it's just like confetti, fleeting and lacking substance. Instead, he desires something meaningful, something fresh and exciting that breaks the monotonous routine of his everyday life in the biking facility. He sees the opportunity to support Abby's talent as a chance to bring some real significance and joy into his life. Despite Abby's initial hesitation, Bing's persistent encouragement eventually convinces her to audition for Hot Shot, on the condition that he accompanies her for support. Delighted that she agreed, Bing feels that Abby possesses the authenticity and talent he has been longing for. However, after Bing returns to his room, he makes a shocking discovery. The ticket for Hot Shot actually costs 15 million merits, not 12, which means if he were to gift Abby the necessary merits, he would be left with only 9,000 merits to his name. This realization leaves him in a difficult position. He decides to do it anyway, and when Abby gets the gift, she reacts by making her online character blow a kiss to Bing. The following day, Bing and Abby ride the elevator together to the floor where the TV show is filmed. Abby gives Bing an origami penguin as a gift. In return, Bing holds her hand to comfort her when he notices her nervousness. When they reach the studio, Abby is allowed in with her ticket and introduces Bing as her friends and family allocation. He receives a temporary tattoo on his hand that grants him entry as well. Afterwards, they head to the waiting room, which is filled with participants awaiting their turn. Some of them just arrived today, while others have been there for an entire week. However, Abby doesn't have to wait for long because of her attractive appearance. She's selected to go next. This makes a singer named Glee complain about the lack of respect for the order of arrival, but the bouncer reminds her that he's simply following instructions from the people in charge. Abby is brought in for a screen test, which involves recording her in front of the camera as she says she wants to be a famous singer. Afterward, she is quickly taken backstage. A stagehand offers her a carton of a drink called Coupliants, and Abby attempts to refuse it. However, she's informed that it's mandatory. Abby drinks the Coupliants and starts feeling a bit fuzzy, but she decides to go on stage and perform anyway. Once there, she faces 3 judges: Hope, Charity, and Wraith. Hope encourages her to sing, but Wraith repeatedly asks her to remove her clothes, which makes her uncomfortable. Abby chooses to ignore Wraith's inappropriate requests and confidently sings Anyone Who Knows What Love Is by Irma Thomas. The audience enjoys her performance, except for Swift, who remains jealous of her. Both Hope and Charity appreciate her singing, but Wraith appears disinterested and bored throughout the entire performance. It's Hope who interrupts Abby's song and informs her that while it's the best singing they've had this season, her voice is good but not exceptional. However, Hope compliments Abby's beauty and suggests that she would do well on Wraith's adult channel, which is more focused on appearance and sensuality. The 3 judges start pressuring Abby to consider accepting a role in adult films, emphasizing that this may be the only way for her to achieve success and leave her current biking lifestyle behind. They argue that the music industry is highly competitive, with numerous singers vying for opportunities. They suggest that the chance she's being offered is rare and that many others would be willing to take it in a heartbeat. Backstage, Bing witnesses the situation and attempts to come to Abby's rescue. Finally gives in and accepts the deal. When Abby reluctantly says, "I suppose," it is evident that she's not happy about the decision, and she starts crying. Meanwhile, Swift is also disappointed with the outcome. A couple of days later, Bing returns to his regular life but feels terrible about the whole situation and what happened to Abby. Especially when his friend Dustin puts on the adult channel, and Bing has to hear Abby giving interviews that sound empty and devoid of her true self. Because Bing has already spent money on the ticket, he finds himself having to resort to eating junk food to save money. Later in the evening, while playing video games, the ads take over the screen once more, and he sees a promotion for Abby's first adult film. Bing realizes he doesn't have enough money to skip the ad, so he tries to cover his eyes to avoid seeing it. However, the blaring alarm accompanying the ad is so loud and piercing that he can't tolerate it for more than a few seconds. When he opens his eyes again, he attempts to leave the room, but he discovers that portals are disabled during commercials, trapping him with no choice but to endure the ad. Overwhelmed by the heartless image of Abby on the screens, Bing cannot bear it any longer. He starts freaking out, yelling, and hitting the screens until one of them shatters. In the midst of his distress, he notices a glass shard on the floor and decides to test something by making a cut on his tattoo. This sparks an idea in his mind. Bing becomes the first person to arrive at the bikes every morning, and he becomes extremely cautious with his daily habits. He uses only a tiny drop of toothpaste to save on expenses and stops purchasing food. Instead, he relies on taking apples from vending machines and gathers leftover food from tables to sustain himself. In the evenings, instead of playing video games, Bing dedicates his time to practicing a dance routine, pushing himself to the point of exhaustion. With determination and hard work, he finally manages to accumulate 15 million merits. He uses this hard-earned amount to purchase a ticket for Hot Shot. On the day of the show, Bing conceals the shard by hiding it in his clothes, and the metal detector doesn't detect it since it's made of glass. He arrives early, being the first one there, but soon the room fills up with other contestants, and even Glee returns to the scene. Bing is selected quickly this time mainly because the producers want to have some diversity in their choices. During the screen test, he simply introduces himself as an entertainer, avoiding specific details. When offered suppliants, he tells the stagehand that he has already consumed his portion, showing her Abby's empty carton that he had secretly hidden in his clothes. On the stage, the judges don't have much to say and swiftly give Bing the opportunity to perform. He starts dancing, but after a few seconds, he reveals the shard and presses it against his neck, threatening to harm himself if anyone approaches. While Wraith remains indifferent to Bing's actions, Hope instructs security to keep their distance. Both Hope and Charity encourage Bing to speak about what's troubling him. In his passionate rant, Bing starts speaking about the oppressive system they all live in, highlighting how people are exploited like disposable commodities, and how the desperation in everyone's lives has driven them to madness. He doesn't hold back and directs his criticism towards the judges, blaming them for perpetuating and exacerbating the issues they all face. After Bing finishes his emotional outburst, the audience is left in stunned silence. However, they quickly erupt into loud screams and applause when Hope labels it as the most heartfelt performance the show has ever witnessed. Hope pretends to grasp the essence of Bing's message, stating that he appreciates his stuff and offers Bing a unique opportunity. He proposes giving Bing a platform to continue transmitting his message on his channel, offering him 30 minutes twice a week to speak on his streams. Charity expresses her admiration for Bing's passion, while Wraith finds the shard trick intriguing, labeling it a neat gimmick. Just as with Abby's situation, the entire audience, except for Swift, starts chanting, "Do it!" in support of Bing's message and his unique way of expression. Bing, unable to withstand the overwhelming pressure, ultimately succumbs and accepts the offer. Several days later, Glee appears on Hot Shot, but her performance is disastrous, leading to her removal from the show due to her terrible singing. Meanwhile, a new show emerges on television. It features Bing with the shard still against his neck, passionately ranting about the system with fury evident in his eyes. After the show concludes, Bing's face returns to a more composed expression as he invites the audience to tune in for another speech the following week. From that point on, Bing's life takes a positive turn, and he now resides in a luxurious apartment. He enjoys an abundance of fresh orange juice, a proper penguin figurine, and a picturesque view of a surrounding forest instead of being bombarded by commercials.